If you knew me before, you wouldn't even look my way.
And welcome back to Sullivan's Unheard Voices. I'm here with Jesse. Jesse, you're part of the Raven Kings. And the first time we met was at that Ravens jam. Oh, yeah. And I'll never forget because, I was trying to come up with a song to sing. And you're like, I don't know if I know this song. And so you, took the song, you went to the side for a second, you just listened for a few bars, boom, you got it. The amount of professionalism and how, amazing you are at picking stuff up and, getting down the groove. Amazing, Jesse. How did you get started into music?
Well, I was born into it,
yeah,
basically. So both my parents were musicians. My brother, uncles, the whole family. If you weren't a musician, you were a DJ at least. You know.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I got really had no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
It was bound to happen. Yeah.
When did you first pick up a guitar?
Oh, they put the first guitar in my hands at about 5 years old, and I would strum along with the band. My mom would have practice in the garage.
Yeah.
And they'd give me an acoustic guitar, which you couldn't, of course, hear over all of the other electric instruments and whatnot in the drum set. But I would strum along anyways, and yeah, so that's kind of how I got started.
That's so awesome. What an experience that must have been.
Yeah.
To just absorb all of that musicality.
Well, my mom was semi-famous, musician.
Okay.
So, yeah, she was, I think she was the original singer for Rosie and the Quartets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And then at what point did you realize, because I always love musicians, when I talk to them and ask them, when did you realize I'm pretty good at this?
Oh, probably a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, probably a few years ago. It's taken a long time for me to really just realize that, hey, I can play most of the things that I hear.
Yeah. How did you start that journey?
Well, playing by ear has really been, when, of course, growing up, we didn't have YouTube.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of finding a decent musician and being like, oh, please let me Jones a guitar lesson off of you. And so, but after a while, I realized just how important my ear is, and needs to be. And so sometimes I would hear a song and I'd visualize it on a fretboard in front of me,
Yeah.
So
I love that. And so the idea this whole idea of you listen and then you interpret what you hear into something you can tangibly put across to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I wish I had that ability.
There's other guys better than me. My other guitarist is better than me than that.
Yeah?
Yeah, he can hear anything. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But so how did you progressed along the way, right? So what was your first band?
My very first band was, just growing up, me and my mom and my brother, you know, we would jam out all the time, so really my first band was my family, we would have family get-togethers and whatnot and like backyard parties and things like that in the patio and of course, and then other family members from the other houses and other cities would come over and join us and
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just now stumbling into that whole jam scene and all of that. And just the whole idea of that many musicians coming together to support each other is pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, it used to be a little bit different of a scene, and it was pretty much, almost like a good old boys club.
Yeah.
Not to fault that at all, but now it's just a matter of it doesn't matter what skill level you are or who you are. I mean, we want you to come and enjoy yourself, And
it's so much fun, even if you don't get on stage and just watch the talent and just watch the different musicians coming together.
Oh, you never know who's going to show up too. I mean, we've had some local celebrities show up and we just duke it out on stage, man. I'll tell you, it's great.
And how long have you been doing that?
The jam scene, or hosting jam night. Hosting jam night, I did it before with a few friends. The drummer, my current drummer, and a couple of other guys. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we did some jam nights at the Yard Food Park.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we did that for a little while, and then earlier this year, well, I guess earlier last year, they asked us if we wanted to host over at the West Side, and we thought that would be a good idea. So I haven't really been hosting for a long time. I've always gone to jam nights because I really, like I said, you never know who's going to show up, and I'm still at that level where I want to see somebody playing something, and now I know how to play that. So.
And how often does that happen?
All the time.
All the time?
All the time,
So
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there something recently that you picked up that you were like, oh, I'm so glad I learned this?
Right now, probably, I watch mostly like my other guitarist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am learning so much from him, and it's been that way for me in a couple of different bands, where there's another guitarist that maybe their skill level is slightly better than mine, and so I'm just really blessed like that. So I
also want to acknowledge the humility there, right? Because I've heard you play, Jesse. You're freaking amazing.
Thanks.
So don't sell yourself short, please.
Thanks.
You say that you're so no, I'm sorry. I got to push back on that because you have some freaking talent, my friend.
Yeah, thanks.
You have some freaking talent. So you say you've been doing all these jams for a while, right? You haven't been hosting them, but before you hosted them, you sort of went to them.
Yeah, they used to have. There was a jam night at this place called Jammers years and years ago, and they would have them every Wednesday. And that's really where I cut my teeth in the music scene here in Salem. Is at that particular bar during that particular jam night. And things would sometimes get really wild, where suddenly we're getting threatened with being unplugged and things.
What?
Yeah.
Because people were accusing you of singing too long, or.
Well, we get a little bit rowdy with the music is all. We start. Jam night is not exactly where you want to play death metal and things like that.
Okay.
We get kind of crazy.
See, and I would be all for it. I would be up there cheering on. That I will always have a soft spot in my heart for metal. Always.
Yeah, but it happens. And it happens now, and at our jam, all that stuff's welcome, So,
yeah.
But back then, it just kind of wasn't done.
Because you kind of there was a certain mold, a certain sort of sound they were looking for at those jam sessions, and if you brought something a little different, they weren't as accepting.
Yeah, so basically the classic rock, standard bar standards is what they wanted to hear. So
yeah,
and that's largely like I said, where I cut my teeth into all of those, doing the cover songs of the bar standards and having to learn them the right way versus the wrong way, and a lot of times, man, I still just play them the wrong way, but.
But at the same time, though, I really do believe in terms of music, right? And I'm wondering, curious if you have the same sort of thought. I almost prefer musicians to be imperfect when they're on stage playing, because I'd much rather listen to somebody who's slightly off and passionate and in their groove than somebody who's just playing exactly like the album and it's just very mechanical.
Yeah, there's a big mix of opinions on that particular subject. Yeah. So I like both sides of the fence. Personally, I like to be able to do. I mean, it's great when I can, do Pat Benatar's "Hit Me with Your Best Shot" lead, note for note. I love doing that, right? But at the same time, if you pick up some Stevie Ray Vaughan or something like that, good luck with that. You're just gonna do your best.
You're gonna put on some Jimmy. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. There has to be some forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, how did you get started with the Raven Kings?
Well, originally it was a Jesse DeVille band.
Okay.
But it was just me.
Okay.
And so I had been writing and recording some music and really wanted to put together a power trio to go out and play them. But a lot of the songs, they require an additional guitar.
Yeah.
And so we started a trio, and it was me and our current bass player, Ted, and another drummer, Tony Mata, who is an amazing drummer.
Yeah.
And we started out just the three of us doing the Raven Kings. And then, his other band, Tony's other band, started really taking off, and so we ended up without a drummer for a minute, and then I called up my buddy from that jam, right?
Yeah.
Jam band. I said, hey, I'm in trouble. I got some gigs coming up. Can you cover us? And of course, he's just the most amazing drummer and can play anything. So of course, he was able to cover us, no problem. And then we were at jam night one night, and I met Chris, Ish Phoenix.
Yeah.
So I met Ish Phoenix, and she was absolutely just blew me away with her vocals. She says hi, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. She told me to tell you hi.
Her range is just something else.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah.
She can sing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of karaoke, her and I.
Yeah.
And because I was a karaoke DJ, KJ, not very long ago. And she would come out often and help me out, sing all night.
That's a tough gig, a karaoke DJ.
It is.
It's like all the pressure for no money.
Well, actually, they pay me pretty well.
Oh, see, that's awesome.
Actually, pay me pretty well. I just had the only reason I stopped doing it is because I've got some other stuff coming up this summer that I want to be free for.
Yeah.
So,
because I know most of the karaoke DJs are only making minimum wage these days.
Yeah, no, that wasn't the case for me.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So, but I wouldn't have accepted it, any other way. I'm charged KJ rates because I have all my own equipment and stuff. So
okay,
that's a little bit different too. So
100%.
A lot of the KJs they're working for somebody else.
Yep.
So
they just show up and. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I lucked out. I just happened to have a PA system and all of that goodness.
And so, with the Raven King, so you have Ish, and then you have your new guitarist.
Jim Tucker.
Yeah.
Boy, let me tell you, he is probably the best guitarist I've ever met in real life, except for actual celebrities. But,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which actually, he's definitely right there. He's absolutely just an amazingly skilled musician and a heck of a nice guy too.
Everybody in your band are nice.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, Ted and Jim and I, we were all teenagers together.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
God, it's small sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, we were all teenagers together, and we used to hang out downtown Salem, and getting into trouble.
Yeah.
But playing music together. So Ted was in my second band that I was ever in, which was in a punk rock band called Mange.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Oh, punk. That's yeah.
So Ted and Jim and I all have our roots in punk rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you all are recording stuff coming up, right?
Yes, we're building the studio soon. I've got a home studio now. But we got to get it out of the bedroom. So
okay,
basically, it's coming out of the bedroom, going into a larger room where we can all share it. And I think there's actually another studio beyond that might be in the works as well.
Oh, nice.
So, but we plan on doing a lot of the recording this summer.
So in terms of studios, you're talking about studios other people can also use?
Well, that's debatable. So, yeah.
That's fair.
At this time, it's just going to be for Raven Kings. But at one point, I did have my heart set on a record label.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were going to call it Racket Records. Because we practice in the Racket Shack.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is just a shack out in the middle of nowhere.
That's so awesome.
Literally, where we play and write our music.
And then, how many songs do you have right now?
Right now, originals that we do, I think we have about 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think we don't do them all regularly. I think we do about half of that pretty regularly, though.
Is that because the audience is sort of like demands that you don't play? You know, I don't know if I'm asking that the right way, but
Just some of them aren't finished being arranged and
Okay.
whatnot. So,
how do you go about writing?
personally, I sit with an acoustic guitar, and it's the same acoustic guitar that I've been playing since I was about 20 years old. It's nothing special. It's an old beat up nylon string guitar. I mean, it is literally beat up, and it's in bad shape. But all the magic seems to happen on that guitar. So I sit around and everything gets written on the acoustic usually before it even hits an electric guitar.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm a big firm believer in the muse, and the muse shows up in various forms. And I could so see a muse showing up through a guitar like that as opposed to something else, because a guitar has memory.
Oh yeah.
You know, I really do believe that not musicians, but musical instruments have the memory of their musician tied to them.
Oh yeah. That guitar is my spirit animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
And how did you come across that particular guitar?
That's an interesting story, actually. So when I was a young man, I drank a lot.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine and I were drinking one night, and we were underage, so we always had to have somebody buy us, alcohol.
Yeah.
And there was this old homeless guy, and he bought us alcohol, and he drank with us all night long. I think I was 19 years old, maybe, when I met him, and it's the only night that I ever met him. But he had this guitar with him, and I said, "Hey, do you mind if I play your guitar?" And he says, "No, play it all night if you want." And so I did. I played this guitar all night long, and in the wee hours of the morning, I think must have been about 6 o'clock in the morning, where we're all parting ways, right? I said, "Well, here's your guitar back. Thank you so much. I really needed that. I haven't had a guitar in a number of years, and so it's been a real pleasure." And he says, "Just keep it, man. It's yours. It was meant to be yours."
That's beautiful.
So I've had that ever since.
So at that time, you had sort of given up guitar for a few years?
Well, no, I used to sit. I would sit in people's houses who had a guitar.
Yeah.
Or I'd go down to Guitar Castle, and TK would let me sit and play until he got real customers. Be like, "All right, now you get out of here," But he'd let me sit and play guitar, and that's largely how I got my skills up.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And the opportunity for something like that isn't really readily available anymore.
No.
There aren't a lot of places where you can just go hang out and play guitar.
No, he put up with me pretty well, and that was nice of him.
Yeah. So then you're 19 and you have this guitar now.
Yeah.
And you just never stopped.
Yep. So, I mean, I had to stop as much as I could without an electric guitar,
Yeah.
But eventually I got an electric guitar, and transitioning from acoustic to electric was difficult.
How so?
Just a totally different style. I'm used to beating on a wooden box.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then, moving to the finesse of an electric took years.
Because it's more finicky in terms of how you pluck the...
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm still working on that. I'm still transitioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have a very flamboyant style of playing, and it's not but that's where it comes from, is from, trying to make that box loud enough.
Because you don't have anything to sort of augment that sound to push it out. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, Jim just set up one of my guitars to shred, and he says, "I put 9s on it." I said, "Would you put size 9 strings on there?" Because this thing was meant for me to thrash on, being how I play. And
Yeah.
so now I'm scared to try it out. I haven't tried it out yet since he put it together. So it's a real shred machine now, apparently. And so
I can't
I'm gonna
wait.
I'm gonna have to lighten up my touch even more.
At the next jam, you're going to have to let me know
I'm
when
definitely
you pick it up.
I'm definitely bringing it to the next jam.
You got it.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to hear this.
Oh, this thing was my punk rock guitar for
Oh, I have to
10
hear this.
years. I just thrashed the heck out of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That is so awesome. And how picky, so I shouldn't say picky, but like how much difference is there in terms of sound between guitars?
lots.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like tons. There's a number of things that can happen. From the size of the string to the style of pickup that's on the board, depending on what you're playing. If you're personally, I prefer the Telecaster.
Okay.
I like the neck pickups, nice and warm.
Excuse me. What do you mean by nice and warm?
Like it's got a nice warm tone versus the crisp,
Okay.
brightness, but which it also has. Telecasters are famous for. You flip that switch, it's got a nice bright tone, but definitely from guitar to guitar. So that guitar would sound. So my regular Telecaster that you've seen me play would sound amazingly different than the shred machine that Jim's built for me.
Yeah. And then in terms of like, because one of the things that I just learned was about amps.
Oh yeah.
And a friend of mine got a 1961 amp,
Okay.
and he showed me the difference between a 1961 amp and a brand new amp that you see now for guitar. Like, it's
Okay.
impossible to get those 60s sounds kind of with newer amps. It's like just
Well-
the way they're kind of configured, right?
So the 61 amp that your friend showed you probably has the old tubes in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm. The glass
And-
tubes.
And that promotes a nice warm tone as
Yeah.
well versus the solid state amps that they don't, they just transistors and resistors and things. It's hard to duplicate. Now there are some things out there that can duplicate pretty well some of those tones, like the new pedals that are out.
Okay.
So like the pedals that Jim and I use, they're modeling amplifiers.
Oh, interesting.
And so I can set it to almost any amplifier known to man, and it'll duplicate that particular sound. So technology's come a long way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, you can't just go down to the Guitar Center and buy one of those pedals. I ordered mine from Germany.
Yeah.
And so, that's something that you got to get, almost commercially.
And for anybody that plays guitar, I would wager a guess that that's the way you want to go.
Well, no, not necessarily, because if you know your tone, you know your tone.
Okay.
I've got a friend that he has an earlier model of the same one, that fractal that I have, and he puts it through a Vibra King, and it's just got an amazing tone the way
Okay.
he's got it set up like that, and he doesn't veer from that, but so you can kind of get the best of both worlds depending on what you want to do. But personally, it's a 5-year learning curve.
Yeah.
On how they work.
Yeah. Because I've seen some guitarists that have like these pedals that are like 17, 18 pieces.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, how do you keep track of all that?
I can't. And that's why I moved to the modeling amp
Okay.
pedal. So the Fractal FM3 is what I play through right now, and it's got. And I use an FC6 with it, so it's got extra switches. So I've got basically, 5 or 6 options per channel, per sound that I want to use at any given point. And so that's all I usually only use 3, clean, dirty, and dirtier. So
I love that. And then in terms of like the actual like sound, right? Because I think a lot of people don't understand how much practice is involved. Because you can't just go out and become an amazing guitar player after a month. Like, that just doesn't really happen.
I've seen it happen, maybe not in a month, but in a year, I've seen somebody get at least to my level.
But even with that, right, the amount of practice and the amount of work it takes to get to that level.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I always like to convey this to people listening who may not know much about music, because a lot of people are under the impression of you just sit around all day and then you make music for an hour and you're done. It's like, no, musicians have to put their life into their art if they want to be successful.
Well, I'll tell you, if there's something, a wise woman that I personally just absolutely adore, her name is Rebecca Lovell, once said something to the effect that if there's something that you love, do it for an hour a day.
Yeah.
Do it for an hour a day every day. And that's how you can get places with it,
And the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
More often than not.
Personally, I mean, I've sat, I think my record is a good 7 hours straight of playing, just to practice.
Yeah.
Just to play, But yeah, I generally, I'd say in 2000, when we were going through COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were going through COVID and everybody was locked up. I'd put 4 or 5 hours a day in. I mean, easily, without fail, every day. So, but there was, we're stuck at home, might as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after all of that, and you come up on stage, like, what's that feeling like?
It's terrifying.
Yeah?
Yeah. Every time. But once the guitar starts going, once the music starts going, all that fear just disappears. Yeah. So I don't know what it is. There's a switch inside me that, I'm nervous until I'm not. Once I've got a guitar in my hand and it's going, then that's all I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about anything else.
And and the amount of concentration on stage, right? Because there's a lot of things that I see now that I didn't see before, like all of those unspoken communication between band members, like all of the body movements,
oh, yeah,
and the tricks, and like that. Like, how do you sort of come to that? Does that sort of happen organically? Do you communicate about that beforehand, or?
Well, I think there's a little bit of both. Fortunately, like my bandmates that I have now, we're all really good friends, and kindred spirits, and we're all, I think, very similar people, and so a lot of that stuff does come naturally. But we do talk about it, like, hey, watch for this signal, hey, watch me for a cue, something like that. Although with this band, I have to do that a whole heck of a lot less.
Right.
But because I've been in bands where there's somebody that's just not watching cues whatsoever, and it's, that can be often problematic. So
yeah, because one of the things that kept me, so I used to be in a band, and a long time ago I used to sing, and I struggled so much just keeping time and keeping hitting my marks. That was always, I struggled with that. And I never quite figured out how to get around that.
I think everybody experiences that at some point,
Yeah.
That's just a matter of experience, I believe, It's like, there's never a magic, because everybody makes mistakes,
Yeah.
but when you get to making enough of them and you get tired of people pointing them out to you, you learn how to cover them up.
I love that.
So, yeah, that's all. It's just, like I said, it's just a matter of experience, I think.
And then when you're up on stage and you sort of see the crowd, they start to get up and they start to dance. That must be an amazing feeling.
Half the time I don't notice.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, half the time I don't notice. But because, like I said, once the music starts, I'm kind of
It's
just
all about the music.
I'm just kind of thinking about what I'm doing, and just like, all right, and listening and watching for the cues for the band, whatnot. But I have been in some places where I played a show This was a Dimebag Darrell tribute show that I played with a prior band.
Love that guy.
And not only was all the band going, but the audience was just, I mean, they're slamming us, and then everybody's soaking us with like these beers, like they're shaking them up and they're just hosing us down, right? Basically, you can't ignore something like that. I mean, I've been on both ends of the spectrum there, where there's nobody dancing to like, getting hosed down with beer.
And how does that impact your instruments?
Well, Jim just had to repair that. Actually, after a lot of years of that guitar being out of commission. So he's got a shop, Bullfrog Music, down in Corvallis.
Yeah.
If you haven't been, I highly recommend, if you're into guitars, you want to go to this shop.
Okay.
And if you need guitar work, I mean, they're absolutely the best down there.
What's the name of that again?
Bullfrog Music.
Bullfrog Music.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a great shop.
Mm-hmm. And is that where you go to get all your guitar service?
I won't take them anywhere else anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That says something, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you do? Because I've seen this twice now. What do you do if you're playing on stage and you break a string?
That's happened to me several times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So generally, the band keeps playing while I fix it real quick.
Okay.
So you get fast at changing strings or repairing strings. So I think with the shred machine guitar, it's a Kramer Focus 5000. That happened, and it's got a Floyd Rose tremolo system on it, so it's got the locking nuts, and that's a real quick fix versus the Telecaster where you got to get another string. So, but generally, we have another guitar off to the side.
Okay.
So if we break a string, we swap guitars. That's the best thing to do.
And so when you're doing that, you want to make sure you have a guitar that sort of sounds similar on stage as a backup.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of times we won't swap guitars until after the song's finished, but sometimes it just kind of depends on the situation,
Does it depend also on the string?
No.
I would imagine like if the second string or the third string versus the...
It's always the third string or the sixth string.
Okay.
Or I should say, the sixth string, fourth string? I don't know. It's always the G string or the E string, yeah.
Okay. Is that because they're played more often than...
It's where we band the most.
Gotcha.
It's where we do the banding.
Yeah, okay. How is that? Like, I'm always in awe at guitarists that can bend and maintain sound. How did you pick up that art?
Well, I think I was about, I want to say 12 or 13 years old. And my stepdad had a 45 record, right? And it was Santana, how to play guitar,
Interesting.
And on there they show you how to bend notes. And my stepdad was he was a musician, and he taught me how to bend the note all the way up to the next note, And so that's where I learned my bends. A lot of people, learn them from Gilmore, but I got mine from Santana.
That's so awesome. That's a good one to be from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big hero of mine.
Yeah, I always have appreciated Santana's musicality.
Oh, yeah.
And he's one of those few, like, one of the things I love about guitarists in general is those guitarists where you could just not hear anything else, and you hear a guitar, and you're like, I know exactly who that is.
Right? Yeah.
I know exactly who that is. And that's such a unique instrument in a band because of that.
Yeah.
Very few, like, I just met Victor Wooten, but I listened to Victor Wooten yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about an amazing bass player.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like...
The Wooten brothers are something else.
Oh, my gosh, they put on a show.
Yeah.
They put on a show. And one of the things that I always appreciated about guitarists is how distinctive a sound you can get, and it carries over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you think of Santana or Eric Johnson or
Adam Jones, yeah.
B.B. King, you know, they've got these really resonant styles and tones to their guitar, and the tones don't change a lot either.
Yeah.
So that helps, but the stylings, the pickings is just, yeah, trying to get that distinctiveness that's the goal, you know.
How tough is that sometimes? So, like, are there songs where you're going to play them and you're like a little apprehensive because of something like that?
I have personally, I don't know. I'm so limited at what I can do on a guitar, and I say that in all earnestness. I'm so limited, so I feel like I don't have to work at being distinctive because I always play the same things.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
But they're always variations of the same things. There's one, you know, version, and here's another version, there's another version, but it's always pretty much the same minor pentatonic scale.
I get that.
So I feel like I've got some distinctiveness there.
Are there things you like to play more than others?
Absolutely. I mean, like, I love the blues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love playing blues licks and blues riffs and any because that's what I grew up doing, you know.
Yeah.
And I figured out that the loud, angry punk rock stuff was lots of fun, but underneath that, there's another emotion that I think is closer to the core.
Yeah.
And the blues really tends to reveal that, I think.
I could feel that. And actually, I mean, I hate to admit, I was not even aware of blues as a genre until about a year ago.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was a rocker through and through, right? I listened to pretty much just like all of the major heavy rock stuff. And then I stumbled across Brandon Logan.
Oh, yeah.
And it changed my whole trajectory of appreciation for music.
Yeah, he's an amazing player.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Like, just off the charts. Like I don't know if you've ever heard him done his Hendrix.
Yes, I have. I've heard Brandon quite a bit, so he's come out to the jams.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Every once in a while, he still does. Every once in a while, he'll show up and bless us with some beautiful guitaring.
Yeah. And so, like, because of that, I now have this newfound appreciation for blues that I didn't have.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of how complex and diverse blues is.
Yeah.
It sort of pulls at your heartstrings.
I should get you started on some Larkin Poe. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Larkin Poe. That's American roots music. If you like rock and roll, you like blues, this is the band for you.
Now, say that again more time.
Larkin Poe is my favorite band in the whole world. They're the great-great-grand nieces of Edgar Allan Poe. And I've been fortunate enough to meet them several times.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they have influenced my music quite a bit.
They're on my list officially now.
Yeah.
I'm going to check them out.
Mm-hmm.
What other influences do you have?
Well, I mean, overall, the big Led Zeppelin fan. You know,
Yeah.
It's the running joke in my band is, "Do you know any Led Zeppelin?" Because I think we're all real big, huge Zeppelin fans. And Ish Phoenix one day we were at practice, and she says, "Do you guys know any Led Zeppelin?" And then we immediately started playing like every Led Zeppelin song. So that's the running joke. Do you guys know any Led Zeppelin? Yeah, we know some Zeppelin.
That's so awesome. You know, like, I've always been a huge fan of Tool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like that's my number one go-to. Like, I've been a huge fan of Maynard my entire life.
They're really intricate. They're really complicated band. You know.
Yeah.
I like that 46 and 2 song that they do.
Have you heard their new one, Tempest?
I have not.
Oh my goodness!
I didn't know they had a new one.
The whole song is in 7 count.
Oh, is that right?
The whole song.
Man, that's got to mathematically drive me nuts, I think.
The first time I heard it, I didn't like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it sounded off to me. And I couldn't figure out why it sounded off to me. And then I was like, "Oh wait, why is there a 7 in the name?" And then when I figured it out, it's like, "Oh, it's a 7 count."
They did it on purpose.
They did it on purpose.
Yeah, those guys are mathematical geniuses, really.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
who does that?
them.
Yeah,
Tool.
right? Only them, right?
Yeah. There's a couple other bands I think that they could pull it off, but yeah, Tool is definitely like the father of that kind of stuff.
And that's kind of one of the reasons I love blues so much, is because you have those various different, it's not just 888-444. It's different.
Well, especially if you get into the real original like John Lee Hooker stuff.
Yeah.
Where it can definitely Skip James is another one.
Oh yeah.
Where the meters are definitely like, oh, what just happened there? But it's good, and I can't get enough of it most of the time. But
that first time, it's almost like the first album I ever got was Metallica Black.
Oh, nice.
And I hated it.
Did you?
The first 3 times I listened to it, because I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I was like, why are they yelling? Why are they upset? Why are they angry? Like, I didn't quite understand. But then I'm like, oh wait, this is supposed to be this way. Like, now I'm finally getting it, right? That was my first introduction to music in terms of like something that's different, but it's also purposeful.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I love about music today, is that so many musicians are so purposeful with their music.
Yeah.
And I always I don't know if it's my autism or whatever, but like when I get an album, I have to listen to it from start to finish.
Oh,
because
nice.
I have to respect, because the artists put in all of this effort and energy to just have this arrangement.
Oh yeah.
And I figure it's a journey. And what better way to respect the artist than to listen from start to finish?
Oh yeah. There was an album like that for me once, and it was Queensryche.
Oh yeah.
And it was the self-titled album, with just Queensryche, Queen of the Reich. Oh man, that whole was a rock opera. Basically, it was from start to finish. It was all the songs were interlocked somehow, to each other, and so yeah, I totally get that.
And I really appreciate the journey.
Yeah,
I always feel like music is a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
you can't, I can't imagine a world without music.
I can't either.
Like how? Oof.
It's only recently that I take breaks from listening to it. Like I generally I'll listen to it in the car, listen to it in the shower, listen to it at home, listen to it at work,
Yeah.
And it's just constantly, and I've only recently learned to take some breaks. Like turn the music off for a minute,
Is that helping any, or?
I think it helps my creative flow.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it helps my creative flow a little bit, where because I'm not constantly inundating myself with melodies and harmonies, and have some time for it to just kind of stew,
Yeah.
And
take a sort of step back and just let stuff go in your head.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in terms of when you have, and I would imagine that leads itself better to the creativity piece when you're actually making music.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, because if I don't get those breaks, I've noticed it takes longer for me to come up with something else. So.
Oh.
Because a lot of times some stuff will just come up subconsciously, I'm not thinking about it, and those are usually the best songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that are 2 o'clock in the morning and something comes up, and yeah.
Uh-huh. Which is why I sleep with 2 guitars by my bed. Absolutely.
So do you have a recording device too, or just? I love that.
Yep. Not 3 feet from my bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you never know when the muse is going to show up.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sorry, I'm letting that sink in for a minute, because that's just so what guitars do you have by your bed?
So the one that I was telling you about, the old beat up acoustic,
yeah.
And then my Telecaster.
Okay.
So, and then every once in a while there'll be another guitar or two hanging around, but yeah, those two are always right there. So I love that Telecaster to death. Yeah.
And the other thing that I saw the other day too is they have these things called sweatbands for the frets.
I'm not sure what that is.
Oh.
You're gonna have to educate me now.
So they have these things. They're called sweatbands that they go over the edge or the frets of the guitar, And so what I'm hearing, and I'm hoping I'm not butchering this explanation that I had last night, it takes away half the pressure that you need for your notes on this hand, so that you can do a lighter touch and get the same sound. So it automatically just pushes down all of your frets halfway.
Oh, really?
And it supposedly makes it so much easier to play.
I don't know if I would trust a device like that. But then again, I've got that, beating on the wooden box style, so...
And it's not even a device. It just looks like a furry rubber band that they put on the...
Yeah, but maybe that's a helpful learning tool.
Yeah. It must be. I don't know. I've never seen it before. And the other thing I never saw before, too, is that this drummer had holes in his cymbals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I've never even seen that before.
That's the thing. I'm not really sure why they do that either, but it makes different sounds. I know that sometimes if a cymbal gets cracked, then we cut holes around the crack so it doesn't keep cracking. But
okay.
But yeah, there's different cymbals. They just come with the holes, Mm-hmm. But I don't know a whole lot about the drums.
That's fair. Uh-huh.
I can play a little bit.
Yeah,
but.
So when you're getting ready for a show, right? Let's say, for example, maybe not at the West Side, because I would imagine they have equipment that's sort of already there. But how do you determine what equipment that you want to bring with you for a show? Do you scout the place out beforehand, or?
Well, yeah, we always try to figure out: do we bring the whole kit and caboodle or just the caboodle?
Yeah,
and so and even at West Side, we definitely bring the whole kit and caboodle generally, but. If a place doesn't have a PA at all, like let's say they don't have a microphone or Megan's or speakers or something like that, we'll bring our own. But we always bring our monitors, our own monitor systems. We have a setup to where our drummer James has us all dialed in, and we have our own mixing board and everything that we bring. So everything's all mixed in from our point of view, and then wherever we go, here's your left, here's your right. And we always sound the same. So,
excuse me.
Although it's been some work trying to get together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that way, when you show up, you have everything already ready to go, and all they have to worry about is just those two cables.
Yep. And then and James hands them a tablet. Here's your front of house. Go ahead and mix it down.
That must have been a game changer when you figured that out.
It's still getting figured out.
That's fair.
It's still getting figured out. But our drummer he's an amazing sound guy. He's brilliant. He really knows his stuff, and we're lucky, because a lot of bands they don't have that.
Yeah. and in that piece of the business is so counterintuitive to music.
Yeah.
Because I used to work for a nonprofit that did live surgeries. And one of the things that you'll find, and it's also very common in the podcast realm, is that you either get really good video or really good audio.
Yeah.
And so finding a way to get that both mix in there has always been a challenge.
Well, and that's where actually our next endeavor is, working on the video portion of things. We've got some good video here and there, but being able to take our own video, we just don't have enough hands. Basically, is I think where we're at, but that's our next endeavor.
Yeah,
yeah, is incorporating the video portion of the show,
and that being able to sort of transmit that really high quality sound along with that video.
Yeah. Well, that part's getting to be easier now. Like I said, we've got a genius at the controls for that.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, most of the shows that we play now, they're all being recorded in Ableton, so that we can listen to them back and
that's awesome.
And be able to fix our mistakes and things like that. So
yeah.
So we'll all get sent files at the end of the week after playing a show, and
be
able to listen to that.
I don't know why I can't listen to myself.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I have not listened. I take it back. I've listened back to a couple of my podcasts, but more often than not, I just can't, because I just don't like how I sound.
Well, nobody likes the sound of their own voice.
That's such a strange phenomenon.
Yeah,
it's such
nobody
a strange
likes
phenomenon.
the sound of their own voice.
Because it's like, I don't get it, but hey, whatever.
I can't stand my singing.
Really?
Yeah. But a lot of people love it. So
yeah, it's good.
But I don't know the sound of my voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always was curious why that is. I'm going to figure out to interview somebody to tell me that.
To figure out why
there's gotta
people
be a
hate
reason.
the sound of their own
There's
voice.
got to be a reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to find a doctor or something. Anyway, I digress. So in terms of like musicality, though, so like there's always this running dialogue about bands that play music from other artists and like original music, and I personally don't care. Music's music, but I'm surprised by how many musicians do care. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
There's generally there's a couple different breeds of musicians. There's diehard originals,
Yeah,
and then the cover band guys.
yeah,
And the Raven Kings, we walk that line like a drunken sailor.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah.
I appreciate because it sort of like it kind of helps itself. It sort of helps a little bit, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, we really are focused on originals right now.
Yeah.
But, like, man, we love playing covers, And sometimes we'll jam stuff at practices that, nobody ever hears.
Yeah,
And that's kind of the fun part about jam night, too, is a lot of times, like, certain songs, they are fun to play. They won't make it on our show list.
yeah.
But they'll make it to jam night.
Okay.
So it's important to go to both.
Yeah, yeah. That's so awesome. What show is coming up next for you all?
I believe we're having a show in Carlton, Oregon, at La Margaritas.
Okay.
I want to say it's the weekend of June 20th or something like that. June 21st, I believe. So that's our next official show, and then we've got another couple more coming up. We didn't book a whole lot this year, just simply for the fact that we want to do some woodshedding with the original music and recording and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you only have so much time.
We want to be ready for next season.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to, because our merchandise table is missing that CD. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that it's missing. It's actually looking pretty good otherwise. We've got the shirts and the stickers and the buttons and the...
Has that been impacted with... So, like, one of the things I've noticed is, like, CD players in general are few and far between now.
I think vinyl is making a comeback, but I think the CDs are still... I still buy CDs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I don't listen to them very often. A lot of cars still have them, you know.
My car is the only thing that has a CD player.
Yeah, see, you need a Raven King CD in there. But but I think vinyl has there's so much romance behind it. It's really made a comeback, I think.
Well, and they figured out a way to dial in all of the sounds in vinyl.
Yeah.
Like, just the sounds that come on. Like, I have a friend that invested thousands of dollars in a vinyl setup.
Oh, really?
And when she first did that, I was like, I didn't understand why. And I actually kind of was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? But then I went over and I listened to it and like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
That's like you're in the studio.
Yeah, it's warm. I love it. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And it has a sound unlike anything else. Like, you can't get that sound digitally.
Yeah, so I would love to be able to put out like a vinyl album,
Yeah.
and be able to sell those. But I think the CDs aren't going anywhere just yet.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And it's tangible music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get those inserts where you can read the lyrics or see the photos and feel you can it's something tangible, that I think is not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, because I loved the idea of the whole album piece with the follow-up artwork and all the other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And also just that whole, like you said, tangible. but also there are a lot of music, and I don't know if people understand this. There's a lot of music on CDs and vinyl that you cannot find digitally.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can't find it.
Yeah.
And so when you see or have the ability to sort of capture that kind of thing, it's awesome.
Yeah. But again, I think with like my daughter, she's 18 and she's got a vinyl record player and she collects vinyl, and that's, I don't think that's so uncommon with today's youth.
Yeah.
It's really, I think, part of that generation's romance for an older generation's music,
And do you see that sort of coming along with the music piece too? Because one of the things I've noticed, I don't know if you noticed too, as I've been going to more and more jams across the state of Oregon, there are so many young people now that are coming out of the woodwork that are just amazing musicians. And I think there was a break for a minute there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there was a lull.
Yeah.
Where things kind of just died out a little bit. But I think that, the next generations are discovering that, hey, jam night, open mic, these things are really cool, especially even like with the comedy shows.
Yeah.
That's making a big comeback as well, with the open mic stuff. So I don't know. I love doing jam night. I'm really fortunate that I get to do it at my favorite place to play, which is the West Side.
I love that place. That stage is just phenomenal.
It's comfortable there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have enough room for an entire band on that stage.
Right. And yeah, not to mention like their food is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the staff is always just awesome. I walk in and everybody's just like, "Hey, how you doing?" And it's just a comfortable place, and I always feel safe there.
Yeah, and that's one of those. Excuse me. One of the things that appeals to me is when I have spaces like that, right? Because as somebody who's autistic, I have to be kind of careful where I go.
Sure.
Because a lot of times people just misunderstand me or misunderstand situations. And so, like, I make it a point of going to places where I feel like I'm safe.
Yeah.
And I have always felt safe at the West Side.
Yeah.
I always felt welcome.
Yeah, there's generally just a nice, warm welcome attitude amongst the patrons there.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for Ish, I wouldn't have gotten on stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
I'm glad you did.
Same here. Like that was the first time in like 21 years.
Really?
That I got on stage.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna have to get you back.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
We have to get you back next month.
Well, we've been at this for an hour.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that was quick.
I guess the couple of questions that I would like to close on, because I've always been curious, like, what's the difference between somebody who's strumming with a pick and somebody who's strumming with fingers? What's the main difference between the two?
I'll tell you a story. I used a guitar pick and at most two fingers.
Yeah.
For years and years and years and years and years and years, and it was only during COVID that my daughter, who I've taught how to play guitar, taught me how to Travis pick. And which is using all, the rest of the fingers.
Yeah.
And so it opened up a whole new world for me. And I absolutely loved it. But I think there's a lot of guitarists out there that have a fear of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think once you get past your fear of it, it'll open it up for you, especially on an acoustic guitar.
What do you mean by open up?
Just new avenues of music.
Songs you can play if you can pick that way.
Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac. Oh my God, he was the master of that stuff, man. Like how's he doing all of this? And oh, who's another one? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Have you ever heard Tim Reynolds?
I haven't.
Oh my goodness. Tim Reynolds and Dave Matthews do an acoustic set together.
Oh yeah.
And Tim Reynolds is an acoustic guitarist, and I swear to you, he bends notes 2 notes up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
just like how? Because he's like, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan used to do that and he played the strings. Most people couldn't even make them miss sound on them, because they were so thick.
Yeah. And you're like, how does he do that?
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm in total awe of musicians who have that ability.
I played pretty thick strings. I played tens.
Yeah.
So, but so I don't do a whole lot of the bending up of the two notes.
So with the 10 string, is that sort of like the thicker string?
A little bit thicker.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty average, but it's on the thicker side.
Because I know nothing about like strings or anything like that.
Yeah, it's medium gauge.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I wanted to ask before we close, is just in terms of like being on stage, right? What would you like to see fans do when your show's over?
Honestly, I like to see it a lot of times when we finish a show, fans will come up and congratulate us or thank us or like, hey, that was a great set. We always love that. But it's really great when they kick on the music and the fans keep dancing. You know what I mean? When they kick on the jukebox, like, just keep having a good time because that's what we wanted you to do.
Yeah.
Just because we're done doesn't mean you have to be done.
I really appreciate that. Uh-huh. And then that leaves you the opportunity to join in if you need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Jesse, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
It's been an awesome interview. And folks, I say the same thing every time. Be kind. We all breathe the same air. And if you're kind, this world will be a much better place. Jesse, thank you so much.
Thank you.